One of the arguments about toxic bosses not being a real thing comes from the idea that you can't be a toxic boss if you don't have people to be with. It's what we call a relational dynamic. So unless you are sitting in a room on your own, talking to yourself, and you happen to have more than one personality, you could argue we were being toxic towards some of those other personalities. And I see the smiles, but I also think we probably all have realized that there's some people who might be doing that. But it's a relational dynamic. If I haven't got somebody to be toxic towards, the perpetrator can't be the perpetrator unless they have a victim. So if you have or have not, or know or don't know anyone who's ever experienced a toxic leader, in my experience, one of the best questions we can ask ourselves and the people we're trying to help is, what's your power in this? Not blame or fault or role or part, because all of those words sound like you're telling me it's my fault. The actual question is, what's your power in this? And if the response is, I don't have any power, say, could you leave the relationship? And we've all probably had those conversations which end up with, yes, I need the job and I can't get another job and and all of those other things. But we all have got enough experience to know that really, we have power. We have authority over every single behavior we have. And if you don't like your boss anyway, and they're toxic towards you anyway, and you think the only other alternative is that you lose or leave your job, what harm would it really do to tell them not why their behavior is bad, but how their behavior is impacting on you? I'm experiencing the way you're behaving in this way. I mean, we've all been to some sort of giving feedback in a really good way classes at some point in our career, yeah? And the best way to give feedback is not to go, you're rubbish, this is why. The best way to give feedback is say, I'm experiencing this. This is what I'm seeing. Whilst I'm giving you this feedback, would you be okay just to listen, to write some stuff down? And if you've got any questions, if you've got anything you want to say, there might be things that you disagree with, that's all fine. Let's leave that until I've said to you the things I need to say. And the reason I'm giving you this feedback is because I care. By the way, caring about something isn't the same thing as liking them or loving them or wanting to spend all your time with them. I'm telling you because I care. And really, underneath all of it, this is the counselor in me. The reason we do anything is because we care about ourselves. Yes. And here's an interesting question, Thomas. How do we then handle situations where we realize the person isn't interested in us? How can we utilize that knowledge to take us back here? Because by definition, if they're your leader or your boss or your manager, whatever term we're using, they need to be interested in you. And if they're not interested in you, I'm just going to say it, it might be time for us to go. Because the only power we all have really is over ourselves. We can say, I don't want to be treated this way. We can say, I don't like it. I don't want to be here. You're wrong. Ultimately, the only thing we can control, because incidentally, we can't even actually control our emotions, everyone. We can just manage them and put them in a different box for later. The only thing we can control are the actions we take. We don't get to control our thoughts. They're there. We get to choose which ones we follow. Our feelings come because we are emotional beings, but we do get to control what we do. And sometimes the thing we need to do If the giving of feedback has been done, or we decide it's just not worth it, is that we do walk away. Because I argue that we can only have somebody being toxic to us if we're there to be toxic to. And if we somehow, this can be really hard to think of or hear for ourselves, somehow we're allowing it. Somehow we're saying it's okay.